taking the hand and pulling it back gently and hanging on to it for like 30 seconds.
I see Stu Ham do that all the time.
Oh my God, this works. And when you let go, don't pop it. Return it very gently. So stretching.
Hi, and welcome to ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman, founder and first baseman. If you've ever wanted to learn bass, but you think maybe you're too old or your body is giving you a little pushback, you should know that right now there are thousands of people inside the For Bass Players Only community, most of them of the silver-aged vintage. And you know what they're doing? They're learning bass. They're having fun playing music that they love. You should come join them and experience that incredible transformation for yourself. As I always say, you're never too old to groove. So let's play bass. My guest this week, I almost said my friend this week. Well, that applies. My friendly guest this week is an old friend. Dan Glenn is an electric bass virtuoso, composer, and educator, recognized for his adventurous use of harmony and distinctive personal style. Dan has played and recorded with rock, blues, and jazz icons Michael Bloomfield, Freddie King, Luther Tucker, Carlos Vega, Freddie Hubbard, Lenny Castro, Jeff Berlin, Baba Elefante, Percy Jones. My goodness. He launched his career during the 70s as a student of electric bass innovator Monk Montgomery. Remind me to ask you about Monk if I forget. And was a close friend of the legendary Jaco Pastorius. Besides releasing numerous albums, writing symphonies, and working on movie and television scores, Dan has also appeared as an actor in the film Johnny Be Good, taught at the Musicians Institute, formerly known as Bass Institute of Technology, and has authored several books. This is his third interview on For Bass Players Only. Welcome back, Dan. Great to see you.
Great to be with you, John. And it's wonderful. We're not at the Nom show with ground floor noise screaming at each other. This is a fun experience. I'm in my living room.
Yes. Well, let's hope we don't end up screaming at each other during this interview.
I got you. One thing. Excuse me.
In the bio.
Monk Montgomery. We're going to go to that. Huh?
Okay. Yeah.
But before we go anywhere,
yeah,
I want to make just a small adjustment, a small announcement.
Yes.
My fan base is beautiful. They're all over the world. They follow all this stuff. You're busy. When I tag you, you're there. But a lot of people don't know what I'm about to say, okay?
I have no idea what you're about to say.
I thought you did. This is all scripted. Tell the truth. It's just like reality TV. So a year and a half ago, I'm a combat Vietnam veteran, and I go to the VA. They take great care of me. Oh, my God. VA used to be a nightmare. Different story now, my friend. And I was complaining to my doctor. I've always had bad vision, but things started to collapse on me. And she went, boom, got me straight over to a retinal surgeon. And I was diagnosed about a year and a half ago, John, with geographic atrophy. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Geoatrophy. You see Henry Winkler doing commercials and macular degeneration. It's a thing now, for eye injections. And if you have wet mac, you get 2, maybe 4 injections a year, okay? My doctor got me over there in the nick of time. And I have geoatrophy really bad now. Remember when we were setting up a few minutes ago before we started rolling? It's really difficult because I'm legally blind. It's better than being legally blonde. But I go in for injections all the time. I just had one day before yesterday. And they caught it. So I'm not going lights out. I just want everybody to know. I don't drive anymore. I can stumble around, but I'm in a weird space. And I just want to thank everybody that knows it. Thousands of people know about this, and they've been pulling for me. So it's been weird, but look, let's be straight here. All my little injuries and the way I lost my pizzicato and had to go back and forth to guitar to bass and all the drama, that's like a sliver in my finger compared to what our friend Mike Stern has been enduring. Come on. I know you just did an interview or you're doing.
No, I got a thing on Facebook. Here's a memory from 7 years ago.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Mike is a phenomenon on every level you can imagine. Okay, so anyway, I'm going blind. I just want people to know that, and boo hoo. But as long as I don't go lights out, I'm good. Lights out. I can't do lights out.
I'm sorry. Just what is the difference between going blind and lights out?
Lights out is you're blind. You're like dark. So it's I'm going blind. I mean, I can't. Like right now, your head's kind of jumping on and off your body through dirty water. So really, my eyes are. I'm. Another thing people don't know, because I had blue hair and green hair for a long time with Mark Corradetti and the. But
I remember that.
Realize, I'm well into my 70s. I'm pushing 80. So these things happen. So by going blind means my eyes are shutting down, but they've stopped it. They're slowing it way down. So I just want people to know that, because everything changed for me. Everything.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I turned my car in. My wife and I get new cars every 2 years, and I turned it in. I manned up and bought her a new car. Here you go. So my wife Francoise she's been my rock, and she's 20 years my junior. But every son of a bitch that called me a cradle robber is either divorced or wish they were. We're having our 38th anniversary this month. We're having a ball.
Good for you.
I just want everyone to know how much I appreciate the support, and a lot of people don't know, because what do you do? Just hold up a sign like I'm almost blind. Who cares, right? So I just want people to know they caught it. So I get these eye injections. They numb you up real good. And I just had one day before yesterday. And it's no big deal. Our eyes are cameras, right, John? So when they put the final needle in, it looks like ink dissipating in water. It's really beautiful. You still don't feel anything. Well, after the anesthesia wears off, it's a real ride for about 8 hours, okay? Talking to Mark Corradetti, I saw the interview, by the way.
Oh,
this morning, he was in the middle of Milton, the horrible hurricane. So I was just checking on him. He said to say hello. He and his wife went up to Jacksonville, where his mother-in-law lives. They're sitting it out up there, and he said he spoke to a neighbor, and his house is still there. So that's good. Anyway, that's the deal. I wanted people to know that, because it's just not general knowledge, that like I'm losing my eyesight. So
thank you for sharing that. And I've known you for a long time, Dan, and I know a lot about what you've been through, and you've always somehow managed to prevail.
Buddy, I'm telling you, it's like, yeah, thanks for being there too. And just knowing you, I mean, you're a very important person in the industry and the arts, John. You've hung in there and done it right. You're one of the few that has, to be honest with you. You're a complete professional, but you're one of us. So
family.
You're a teacher. You're a great player. That goes a long way. So yeah, my injuries. Okay, years ago, this hand got caught in the hand grip of a bass cabinet.
Yes.
Couldn't even pick a bass up. So I had a little surgery. The hand's numb and stings. So I played guitar. I almost said I had to play guitar. Did you catch that?
Well, you talked about this in the first interview that we did in 2012.
Yeah.
And then you said somebody asked you to show you something on the bass, and you picked it up and realized, oh, I can play this again.
Yeah. So went to the doctor. They said, yeah, you're good. Play. Then rotator cuff. Okay, fine. Then rotator cuff once. Ready? Rotator cuff the second time was an explosion. And the doctor, I'm like going brain dead while they're explaining to me, I have pods and sheaths and nerve systems, and they're all blah, blah, blah. Well, John, I got back. George Schroeder has been so patient. He's such a great guy. I have a DG, signature DG 1000 Schroeder cabinet, 1200. And this thing happens. What does George do? He builds me a guitar cabinet, and says, just keep playing. So with Sheldon, our beloved Sheldon Dingwall. So when the thing happened the first time and I came back, I was talking to Sheldon, and he goes, what, you're playing bass? And I said, man, I am playing bass. And he said, wow. And we talked, and I said, I've always wanted to play your instruments. And he said, oh, we'd love to have you. Well, for almost 5 years, I've been an Dingwall endorsing artist.
That'll
Now,
be more than 5 years because our last interview
yeah,
was 2019.
okay, it's 5 years.
I think you had been with him for a while.
For a minute. So see, I'm having distortion. So,
Okay.
but that's okay. So I go. Sheldon has been wonderful. They give me these instruments. Gave me a beautiful 4-string, a fretless 5-string in Ferrari green, and a beautiful contrabass guitar. I was one of the first ones to play contrabass guitar. Kevin Brandon made me one of the first. It's crazy. Getting strings back in those days was like a dope deal. Kevin's going, yeah, I'm gonna go get some strings. I'm like, wow. So all right, now I'm bringing everybody up, and again, I go to play, and my pizzicato is gone. I'm like, what the F is going on here? So my doctor goes, well, here we go. Last explanation. This finger got shot off in Vietnam, the tip of it, right? They put it back on. There's no bone in it. There's no feeling. Fine. Been doing that for years, right? Well, this thing blowing up was talking to these guys. Now, this part of my hand is crippled. So I was like, what? What? And last time when I had to go through rehab again, I told Sheldon, I'm so sorry. I'm like apologizing to the man. I go, Sheldon, I'm so sorry. And Sheldon said something to me. He said, Dan, go down swinging. And that lit a fire under my butt. I went, yeah. Yeah, that's Canadian next level. Here, hold my beer, right? And I figured a way out. Claw hammer.
Okay.
Claw hammer. I replace him with him. So these are all upstrokes. This is a downstroke and an upstroke. Anyone that hears my latest music, my Strings of Fire album, my Paradigm Cafe album, they're like, is that really you playing? I mean, may he rest in peace, we just lost him. Brad Hauser was telling me, I've known Brad forever. My wife and I built a home outside of Austin. Brad was in Austin. He says, Dan, did you know the players in Africa been playing that way for a long time? That's just kind of a thing. And I go, wow. And he goes, Dan, your notes are bigger now. It's like a little slingshot. And I went, you know what? You're right. And I can play, not that it's required, but I can play faster. I have pieces I wrote for orchestral music, John, I haven't played in 30 years. I'm like, I can play this stuff now. So anyway, I want everyone out there, not just bass players, but anyone who has like some horrible injury or a multiple bunch of injuries. I'm pushing 80 and I've never played better. I swear, it's not me saying that. I'm my own worst critic, but the music doesn't lie. So, and you ready for this? Here comes a ringing endorsement.
I'm always ready for anything with you, Dan.
John, this is a mind blower. So I have 3 beautiful basses given to me by Sheldon, and all my stuff's out in my producer, Steve Schindler's. He's got a beautiful studio. He maintains everything. I only need an instrument. I have a little speaker here. I go out to the studio, but I keep an alpha bass with me at all times because I practice every day, all the time. So my 4th bass was in the queue. It was a Super J. And I was driving our artist rep, the one and only Nick Wells, nuts. Nick.
I know, Nick.
Silver, 2 pickups. Okay, Dan. Oh, no, Nick, 3 pickups. I'm losing the ramp effect. Candy Tangerine. Yeah. And fretless. I was just driving him crazy. He's the, okay, got it. I'll tell you. You wait for these things. They take a long time to build. And I don't care who you are, unless you're Leland Sklar, but I don't care who you are. You wait for them. These are very popular instruments. Sheldon's ruling the world now. It's going everywhere. These people that dubbed it a metal bass, the metal kids were just the first ones that discovered it. So now it's getting stupid. So here comes. So my wife and I have been married 38 years this month. I know Ed McGuire. I know smart people, right? I know people that make your brain itch. They're so smart. But my wife is the most intelligent person I've ever known in my life. It sounds like I'm bragging about family. It's a fact. She's a brilliant person. So we both go all the time, right? And to have family time, we get up early. We get up at 4 in the morning so we can have 2 hours together. She's shutting her mind down, right? Playing with her tablet, and I look at bass porn. Well, I always go to Chase O'Neill's Music Loft because that's next level. Chase only gets the best stuff. And whenever he gets a Dingwall, they're there maybe 3 days. If it's there a week, that's a long time. You get it? It's a big deal. So I'm looking at this stuff.
Excuse me, is it all manufactured in Canada? I know that's where Sheldon.
Oh yeah. Dingwall is in Saskatoon, Canada. They have a huge, beautiful factory. So and thank you, Nick Wells. By the way, I asked for more strings. Right? I needed strings. That was like 2 days ago or something. I get a DHL thing, a box of strings. Thank you. Thank you.
What strings are those? Is that the Dingwall logo on there?
Dingwall. These are Dingwall strings.
I didn't even
They're
know.
made for all their basses. John, it's amazing. So, boom, they show up DHL, and they're go to the site. They make them for these basses. I've had a GHS endorsement forever, but I'm still on their site as a guitarist.
Nick is in England, isn't he?
Nick is in London.
Yeah,
and he's our artist rep. Isn't the internet great? Kinda. You want to buy some T-shirts? I'm just kidding. Little Facebook joke. Sorry. So, okay, here, I got to finish. This is crazy. So I'm talking to my wife, my beautiful wife, Francoise. She's born and raised in Paris. She's been an American citizen for years, but she's French, okay? So she's sitting there, and we're having our family time. We have our kitty, Juliet. She's running around. It's a beautiful time in the morning. And a lot of people won't remember, but remember the Honeymooners, Ralph Cramden? When he'd freak out, he'd go, hama, hama, hama. So I see this bass I'm about to show you. At Chase, it just came in, and I can't talk. And my wife goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I show her this instrument, and she starts speaking French. I go, "That's interesting. It's a Z3, one of a kind, forever." John, these are $10,000 instruments. These are Stradivarius. So I told my wife, and she goes, "Well, when you can speak again, why don't you just get it?" And I go, "Get it?" And she goes, "You have money? Just get it." Well, the next day, they handed Chase O'Neill the phone when he came to work. Some crazy guys on the phone, and I go, "Hey, it's Dan Glenn, endorser." He goes, "Yeah, I know. Well, what's up?" And I go, "That bass, that Z3." And he goes, "Well," I go, No, full price now, DHL. I must have it. The very next day, can you see this?
I can see it. It is beautiful.
Poplar Burl Explosion Burst is the name of the paint job.
What's the matter with the frets? They look crooked.
That's funny. We'll go there. Look at this thing. Look at this. I truly am almost blind, so I hope I'm not being stupid. So, okay, I'm being stupid. Black Ceruse on the back. My wife's French, right? I go, "What does Ceruse mean?" And she said, what did she say? She said white lead. So it's usually white. It's a process they do. Wenge neck. Macassar ebony. Fingerboard. Look at the.
Well, white lead, is that a color or is that?
Yeah. It's a process they do to it. And if it's white, it looks weird, and if it's black, it looks
It's made
weird.
out of wood, though, right?
Yeah. Now, what they do with these, they started it with. That was funny, John. What they do is, like with Leland Sklar's signatures, they started making dual density. So there's a video with Sheldon tapping a blank with like northern ash or swamp ash and alder. And what it does is it covers highs and the mids and the low end. Dual density. This is made out of 2 types of wood. And when Sheldon taps it, it goes dip, 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 doop, doop, doop. I'm like, dip, 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 doop, doop, doop. So this has got the Z3s, the Prima artists, and Lee's signatures, the high end of high ends. These are dual density, and you can hear it. You can feel it. It's just freaking amazing. This bass And people go, "What's wrong with the frets?" They all freak out about the frets, and I go, "Listen, okay, fan frets give you a much better articulation, and they're much more comfortable to play. They're the Ralph Novak patent. Sheldon's been a pal and a colleague of his. But I say, that catches your eye. Everybody's like, I tell them I played so fast I melted them and all that stuff. but
Well, the thing that blew me away though was I finally got my head around fan fret and what it means, and then you showed me this is my fan fret fretless six.
yeah,
And then
that
my
was
mind was blown all over again. Well, how could it be fan fret and fretless? I think I'm starting to get it now. It's
yeah,
the length of the string because of the vibrations and
right. When they're angled like that, you get a whole different spectrum. Now, why? Because these instruments are multi-scale. That's the whole idea behind Dingwalls, multi-scale. Uh, Flashback to years ago, Sheldon's like, he wanted to cure the B string. It was always everybody, we have the best B string. I've had 5 signature basses. Bless everyone's heart, but they always, to me, sounded like your dog farting in a goldfish bowl. Drop a mic in it. Horrible. And as you go up, in frequency, it sounds tinny and brittle. Well, Sheldon's like looking into a piano, and he goes, wait a minute. The low strings go into the next area code. They get exponentially shorter till you're like, he went multi-scale. So these basses, like, he got a 37-inch B string. And the joke is this B string that God created. My joke is, I started it at Nam, that if you hit it just right, all the garage doors in your area go up and down 3 times. But they roar. They roar. And as you go up exponentially, the strings get shorter, so they get sweeter. They don't get brittle. And it's amazing. Well, I have all these back problems and shoulder problems. When I got to Sheldon, said, hey, I put can you see where my finger is there?
yes.
He goes, I put another strap lock back here.
Yeah.
Most people have them here,
Uh-huh.
as did I. Sheldon said, could you try that and see if it's an option? Well, I tried it, and I got back to him. I said, Sheldon, I'm sorry to tell you. And I could just see his brow furrowing, like, oh. I said, it's not an option. It's a requirement. Because what it does is it pulls the half position, first position down 2 inches closer to you. This is a 37-inch.
Yeah.
And it disperses the weight evenly over the shoulders.
Well, that part of it I get, but when you start talking about shifting it over, it makes me think of a Rickenbacker. I could never play a Rickenbacker because I always feel like I'm going like this.
I know, but the option is there, and it just shifts it slightly. But then again, you've got a 37-inch here. I had a Rick, and they had 2 truss rods in the neck.
Yeah.
Right? And I had a blonde one, and everybody goes, this is before everything, right? I mean, they had carrier pigeons. That's how we got our information. That's how old I am. Sorry. But I read somewhere, hey, the neck's screw up. And I'm like, who cares? And one day I went like this, and I went tink, 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 tink. And I went, what? Tink, 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 boing, 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 boing. And one of the truss rods went. And that was it for my Rickenbacker experience.
Wow. So what are you doing with this fabulous bass and your Dingwall strings and your Schroeder speakers and everything else? What kind of music are you making?
I've got 2 albums I'm doing now. One is a new fusion album. I went to Nashville to do another fusion album a few years back, just a couple years back. It's been 2 years, 2 weeks there. And my producer, Jonelle Polanski, is fantastic. Two weeks, I'll be in, I'll be out. Well, Cameron Barton, who's a fantastic vocalist for Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. I mean, I love that song. She's his producer as well. So I met him, we hung out. John, I ended up staying there for 3 months. And the Soul Hunter, it's all just go to danglenn.com where it says my music. I've got a new catalog up there. Just look around. It's Soul Hunters with a Z. That's all. She let me sneak a couple of instrumentals on, but that's all straight ahead rock. And Cameron sings his butt off. It just happened. It just happened. And just one of those, isn't that cool? One of those cool things. Well, that album, come on, it's my first non-instrumental album. straight ahead, man. I mean, they wrote the lyrics, and it's in Nashville, for God's sakes. It was incredible, and it sold right away. And then, John, dramatic pause. This thing happened. We were lined up to go on tour. I was calling I call him my cuz, Roy Vogt. He's the head guy at Belmont College, right?
Well, very well.
So I call up Roy and I go, yeah, I'm in Nashville. We're going to take a band out. He's going, here's Jeff Coffin's number. He's a great sax player. I go, yeah, I know. He goes, here, he's giving me all these numbers, man. I'm going to put players together, tell them how much we're going to pay them. And then this thing happened called the pandemic.
I heard about that.
So people lost their lives. They lost their livelihood. They lost everything. I can't complain. But that was the end of that. That was the end of that. So I just kept going. Yeah, I've got 2 new albums, Paradigm Cafe and Strings of Fire. A picture of me playing the Dingwall 6 contrabass guitar on the cover. To answer your question, now we're doing another fusion album with Steve Schindler, live players. I play all the parts a lot. I'm famous for that. Yes, I'm gifted. No, I don't know how I do it. I don't. I must be a highly manageable savant or something. Some of my friends call me the Joaquin Phoenix of music. John, to play next level stuff, if you hear some of my orchestral stuff, like I have a piece called The Call, that's all up there. You guys can go listen to it. You don't even have to buy it. Just listen to it. I don't know how I do it, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to know how I do it. So now we're going to have players. We're going to bring some players in, and I'll just be playing bass. And on the other album is going to be just me in the studio doing orchestral music for bass guitar. And it's going to be legit. It's going to be legit. So, hey, I'm a double Gemini. I can do 2 albums at once.
That's awesome. Well, I've heard a lot of your music over the years, and no 2 things sound alike.
Isn't that something? And my new stuff is just, all right, I'm struggling for content. All I know is when people get online and they go, man, you're a genius and this and that and the other, I go, okay, that's beautiful. I hear that a lot, but thank you very much. And then I go back and listen to some of this stuff and I go, how the hell did I do that?
I really am a genius.
Something's going on. So I just stay out of my own way, and because I'm a very, I am a virtuoso. I'm a very busy player. I'm a loquacious man. How many words have I said? 1 million since we've been online. So, I blow a lot of notes and sometimes I don't, but so people assume my favorite players are, Hadrian is the greatest player. All these greats, Matt Garrison, Evan Marion. These guys are my friends. They're next level, and I'm so glad there are such great bass players out there now. The young guy. Have you heard of Yuki Hattori?
I don't believe I have. No.
John, Yuki, Y-U-K-I, Hattori. That's like Jones, and he's Japanese, and he's my Hispanic friends teach me it's not Ibanez, it's Ibanez. He's an Ibanez endorser.
Yamaha. Yamaha?
Yeah.
Yamaha. What's that? Yeah. Y-A-M-A-H-A. Yamaha.
Jamaica. Jamaica call. Yuki Hattori takes Michael Brecker solos, writes them out, and blows them in real time while it's happening. Check him out. So my point is, there's guys like that out there. You get on the internet and they can just blaze. I'm glad I'm seeing Greg Howe is taking Mohini day out.
Yeah, I just interviewed her. I think her interview is going to be like 1 or 2 weeks after yours.
Oh man, I'm so glad to see her playing with him. I think who was our boy, one of my favorite bass players in the world, Ernest Tibbs, played with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Protocol.
And what?
Protocol with Simon Phillips, Alan Holdsworth.
Yes.
Ernest is the man. Oh, as a matter of fact, that's that picture we had at SIR.
That's right.
Pictures. That's right. Ernest, what a classy man.
Yeah. I know it's been a long time since I've interviewed him. I'll have to reach out and do a phone.
Oh, please do, because he's so busy now and he's doing cool stuff. Ernest, oh man, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, people, I played with Percy Jones, Jocko was a dear friend. All this stuff is part of my life. And people are like, hey, have you heard? And I'm like, yeah, I have. But that's like taking a baker to the donut shop next door and saying, look that's what I do. It's kind of who I am. So My favorite bass players, or like my favorite bass player, right, is a Canadian bass player, Mitch Starkman.
I know,
Man,
Mitch.
Mitch has pockets so big. I don't know how he gets through the door. I mean, I've heard his stuff with the Canadian recording artist Carrie Armitage. Oh my God. I just go brain dead listening to that stuff. It's so good. I mean, it's so,
I don't think I ever heard him play, but we met each
oh
other at
God,
some band shows, and I have some relatives named Starkman, and
wow.
they're from Canada, so we're trying to
Yeah,
find.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, talk to Mitch. He's one of the most humble people in the world. He'll probably want to phone his interview in. He's so humble. But anyway, he just stopped touring recently because that's all he does is tour, 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 tour. But his pocket. I mean, I listen to that stuff. That's people wonder how I do what I do. It's got to be a gift or an affliction or something. Mitch is just gifted that way. Check.
Hey, I want to switch gears, and
Yeah.
I mentioned Monk Montgomery. I
Oh,
am reading the most incredible book right now. I reached out to the guy's name is the author is Brian Wright. He's with University of North Texas, and he's got a book. You'll love the title. It's called The Bastard Instrument. And you know who dubbed the electric bass the bastard instrument? Monk Montgomery. But
yep. He
it's
was first in history to play the electric bass on a jazz record. Lionel Hampton or
Hampton, yeah.
yeah.
But it's so incredibly well researched, this
Oh, I
book.
want to thank you for telling me that.
It's yeah, I'm going to interview him, but I said, you know what? Send me a copy of the book. I want to read it first, and then we'll do the interview so we can talk intelligently about it.
Thank you.
I'm into the early 1960s right now. I'm going to finish the book, and I'm going to.
Wow.
And then I have Chuck Israel's book, so I'm going to,
Wow.
and we're going to do a follow-up interview also. But
Oh, Monk was my mentor. Mentorship is mentor. That's like a word, right? He embodied that word. He was so wonderful. And I've had students, they come in and they're pacing back and forth, I didn't start till I was 21 and I didn't start. And I go, wait, stop talking. And they go, what? And I go, you know who Monk Montgomery was, right? Yeah, of course, blah, blah, blah. I go, okay, he was my mentor. Yeah, I know that, maestro. I go, all right, do more research. Monk didn't start playing till he was 30.
right.
And he started on an upright.
How do you know him? How did you know him?
Here it is. I was on tour somewhere with a show band. I was in a barber. This is before guns, AIDS, crazy, right? You could just do anything, go anywhere, John. So I was in a barber shop. This is crazy with Don Rickles, who wasn't calling everyone a hockey puck.
Why would Don Rickles need to go to a barbershop?
It was a Sheraton super place somewhere in like outside of New York, and I would play with shows, and we would be the entertainment. Okay, so I would live at these places for like a month. It was great. We put all of our furniture out on the roof so we could sneak out there and smoke pot. It was great. It was a whole different world. I mean, fun back then was farting in the elevator and getting off and watching everybody's expression as the door. We were like a bunch of idiots, right?
That still sounds fun today.
Still sounds fun. So I go in, and these were upscale places. So my debut album was with film television composer Dan Slider, who was our first MD. They were flying him in. He had braces on. He was a kid, and he would like write all the charts, play flugelhorn, the piano, and conduct the orchestra, and we'd do our shows, and then he'd fly back. Well, he went on to greatness, and Dan lives in Las Vegas now, but he took over the world. You can't escape him. I mean, he's done everything. America's Funniest Home Videos, that's Dan. Even the serious heavy stuff. So I'm in this barbershop, very upscale, and I didn't really want to get a haircut, but John, they put these towels on your face, right? And it was just something, see how hyper I am? I'm a very hyper person. So it would just be my time to calm down. So I'm in there, and the guy next to me is wrapped up. And he pulls the thing off of him, and I look over him, and I go, holy shit. And he goes, such a mouth, young man. And I go, Mr. Rickles, it's an honor. And he goes, cut all that crap. He goes, what do you know? And in like one sentence, I said, I came back from Vietnam not all that long ago. I'm playing with a show band, and I can't believe I'm sitting here with you, sir. So we're talking. He knew a lot about music. he started talking to me about, bass. He knew Monk. Everybody knew Monk. I mean, Monk started the Las Vegas Jazz Society, lived in Las Vegas, up on Lacona Drive. He had Monk Montgomery's Reality. He had a jazz radio show. So we're talking, and he goes, "You really ought to check him out." He goes, Mr. Rickles goes, "Are you any good?" And there was no one in there. I hate to curse in front of children or people I don't know. It was myself, Mr. Rickles, and the barber. And I looked him right in the eye, and I won't say what I said, but I said, "Mr. Rickles," and he goes, "Dawn." And I said, "Mr. Rickles, I'm a mo effer." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, I'll talk to Monk." He goes, "What's your number?" Right? Remember those things called phones? So I forgot about it. So I go home on break, and I never would get an apartment because I'd be home for like 8 weeks, 10 weeks. So I go stay with my parents up in Santa Barbara. So that was my number. So the phone rings, and my mother waddles in, and she goes, "There's a Mr. Mingy on the phone." I go, "Mr. Mingy? I don't know any Mr. Mingy." So I go and I go, "Hi," and he goes, "Hey, Dan." I go, "Hello." I just went deer in the headlights, right? I freaked out. He was so easy to talk to. So long story.
This would have been about approximately what year?
70.
Okay, that's
I'm pushing 80, man. 70 something.
okay. So Wes was already very prominently known.
Oh man, this is like that's why Monk came out, because he saw Wes having and his brother Buddy having some success, and he told me, he goes, "I wanted some of that." So anyway, yeah, this is way after 70 something. So I go to Las Vegas and hang with him. What a beautiful man! What a beautiful man! I mean, I cried when he died, and I'm not a weepy guy. He had a white maid, and he treated her like gold. He was just so sweet, such a kind man. So he had me as a guest on his show a couple times, and he let me play albums, Weather Report, and we talked. Well, Monk got me, and this is before Oglethorpe or whatever his name was was taking the NEA's money and doing, poop on the Virgin Mary and all. Remember, they shut all that stuff down. They weren't watching it. But he got me a $10,000 non-matching NEA grant to study privately, and you have to give him a cassette and all this and audition, and I just didn't get it, and I kept saying, I hope I did okay, I did it on the phone, and then I sent a tape in and all my stuff, and he kept looking at me, going, "No, you're good, you're good." He just didn't want to say, "I'm on the Board of Regents. Shut up, you're in. You're there." He just didn't do that. So I got that happening. And then he watched my progress. I'd go out for a show. I'd come in, and he'd always say, "Leave a message, or let me know when you're back." So I left a message. His housekeeper picked up, and I said, "This is Dan Glenn. Please tell Monk I'm home," and all that. Whatever. So I get a phone call, and my mom's not there for Mr. Mingy. I pick up the phone. He goes, "Dan, this is Monk Montgomery. You're home." I go, "Yes, I am. How are you?" We're talking. He goes, "Listen, I want you to watch the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson." He actually said that. The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Remember those days, Sean? Those days were great. And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Dizzy's going to be on tonight." And he goes, "The underprivileged children thing that you and I are involved in. I got you involved." I go, Yeah. Music for underprivileged kids. He was always doing something for other people. I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, Dizzy is on the Tonight Show, and he's gonna stump our stuff. He's gonna talk about it. And, it's a big deal. So watch tonight." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go. Now this is about mentoring, not Dizzy Gillespie. So I go in. I'm talking to our cat. I go. I know what's happening. I'm watching Tonight Show today. So I go out and sit on my parents' deck. They had a beautiful home up on a hill. I go out there, puff some pot, put it back in my Tupperware. How anal I've been my entire life. Put it back in the refrigerator. I go back. I'm pacing. I'm looking at the TV. Are you looking at me? So the time comes. Joel DeBartolo's in there. And waiting. Johnny goes, oh, the American treasure, an icon of jazz, Dizzy Gillespie. So Dizzy comes out, does his whole thing. It's a long segment, John. Doesn't say a damn word. Doesn't say word one about anything. And I'm like, what? Okay, so even my cat goes, what was that all about? I'm like, don't. So like a week or two goes by, phone rings. Hi, Dan, it's Monk Montgomery. He always told me his last name. I never knew if that was from pride or just accuracy. And I go, Monk, how's it going? I go, whoa. I watched the show, and he goes, yeah. And I said, oh my God, you must be livid. He goes, well, Dan. And I go, no, not one word. No, he comes out. He's out there for like 22 minutes. He never said a word. And I said, you must be, and I'm like trying to take Monk into a dark place, right? Like, you're angry and all that. And he finally said, Dan, stop talking. I go, oh, okay. And he goes, Dan, and he's giggling. This was a big moment for me. He goes, Dan, why do you think we call him Dizzy?
That's hilarious.
And I almost lost it. And I go, what? And he goes, he'll pick it up later. And he did. He spoke later. But he goes, he'll pick it up later. And I go, wow, that was a moment. He wouldn't let me get mad. And he told me a little bit of like jazz royalty history. Why do you think we call him Dizzy?
Wow.
And he goes, you smoke pot sometimes, right? I go, yeah, I'm a Vietnam veteran. It kind of settles me down a little bit. And he goes, yeah, but you manage it so well. He goes, you're never dizzy. I go, well, define never. So yeah, man. So Monk was he was there for me, and anytime anything would happen.
What was his name? Was Howard?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, man, you do your homework, John Liebman. You know your stuff.
I got it from that book. The Bastard Instrument. You got to get it. University of Michigan Press.
I'm getting it. I've got a picture. I'll put it on it's on my my Facebook page in my photos. A picture of his 1966 jazz bass. And wow, was he ahead of his time. He was so ahead of his time. And he started at 30, and then he went, he'd show up for gigs, and they'd go, where's the bass? And he'd say, well, I'm bringing the Fender bass. I don't care what it was. It was a Fender bass, but he goes, I'm going to play the Fender bass. And they go, well, let me think about that. No, you're not. And he'd go, well, let me think about it. Yeah, I am. And he stood his ground. He goes, well, I don't know. We go on in 12 minutes. You want to make a call or what? Yeah. Bring somebody else in. And they were like, oh, shit. So he played.
This was for what? I'm sorry.
Any gigs. He'd start showing up at gigs, you name it. And they'd say, you're not playing that.
Oh, they wanted her to play upright, you mean? Yeah.
They didn't even know what it was. They were like, what is this thing? Is it a guitar? Where's the little crank? And he goes, no, I'm going to play. So he played with the highs rolled off and everything. He had a beautiful touch, and he was an upright player. So after the first song, they'd forget about it. And then after that, they'd go, yes, it's okay.
What surprised me in the book was how much Lionel Hampton wanted the electric.
Yeah. Well, he was a fish out of water. He was a trippy person. And
so you got to read this book because Monk is part of such an incredible history. And then
I can't wait.
Part now after World War II, when the Fender couldn't send instruments over to Europe and to England, so that's how Hofner and Framus. Now Framus, do you know who Fred Wilfer was?
Yes.
His son is Hans Peter Wilfer, who has Warwick.
Right.
I've been to Mark. He invited me to Mark in Germany like 3 or 4 times.
I didn't know that, John.
Bass hangs. Oh, these are incredible. Everybody from Bobby Vega to Chester Thompson was there a couple times playing drums.
Wow.
And Chuck Rainey and Leo Clark and
I met Chuck. What a sweet man. What a nice man. My main man, Baby Al Caldwell, is a good friend of Chuck's, and don't get me started about Baby Al, but he's a wise man. He's a trip. You did interview with him, right? With Baby Al? Baby Al Caldwell?
No.
No? Oh, we got to get him in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. I saw it. You know, he's Vanessa Williams, bass player forever.
I did it twice. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Baby Al. He's a
Well, he
trip.
was like really, really early, like 2009, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I
yeah.
met him
Yeah.
again like a year or so ago.
Yeah, he and I were like running around Nam last year together. You know,
When you said baby, that threw me. I
yeah, yeah, it's Baby Al.
never
Everybody
called him
goes,
baby.
he's a big man. You got to be careful with him, Baby. Yeah, yeah, Al Caldwell. So he and I have
Hey,
been
he plays
like,
the banjo, I think, doesn't he?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The Black Hillbilly.
That's it.
He's
The Black
he's
Hillbillies.
writing, yeah, he's writing books about it and stuff. But he plays. He's a bit of a multi instrumentalist, as am I. He plays piano and
Yes.
Al.
Hey, I gotta switch gears again because
Yeah,
I want to ask you something. You've been through so much physically.
yeah, oh
And
yeah.
I mentioned at the beginning, most of the people that are coming to for bass players only are my students are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. I do have students in their 80s, men and women.
Yeah.
A lot of them do suffer from those nuisances that tend to creep into our bodies when we get to that age: arthritis, tendonitis, recovering from surgery, on and on, things
All
like
of
that.
the above, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, though, you said Monk started at age 30. Well, these people are, I told you how old they are. They're
Yeah.
not trying to be rock stars. They're not. They don't want to tour the world playing sold out arenas to their adoring
They
fans.
want to play music. They want to play bass.
Exactly. They want to play some classic rock riffs with their buddies. They want to play some walking bass. They want to play some blues, maybe some funk R&B. Some of them are into slapping.
Yeah.
I'm telling you all that to give you a context because I think you'd be a perfect person to ask this of. What advice can you impart to somebody like I described
Well, I've
who
got great advice. Great
wants
question.
to learn bass? What should they be thinking about? What kind of goals should they have? What kind of questions should they ask? Jump in anywhere, Dan.
Uh, the first thing is learn your lessons rubato, out of time. Go back and fix your mistakes. You know, like Jeff Berlin's one of my oldest friends in the world. People are jumping on him all the time about. I don't get involved in that drama. I feel this way. Don't use a metronome when you're trying to learn music. When you're reading music.
Well, he says that for a whole different reason, but go ahead.
Right. Right. Exactly. But go back and fix your mistakes. Just relax. But before you, especially at our age group and people with some problems, you get scar tissue when you have injuries, right? So I was taught, oh my God, I couldn't move my arms. But you take your knuckles and I have some tissue and you rub it. I'm not kidding. This works. This isn't something I got off the internet. You massage it at the points where it hurts all the time. And when you've had an injury, immobilize when it's swelling and all that. But when that goes away, don't immobilize, mobilize. Now, can you see me, what I'm doing here?
I think I need to say this. Neither Dan nor I are medical professionals, and we are not legally qualified to dispense any medical advice. We just might share some things that have worked for us or we've
Works
seen
for me.
other
This
people.
is stretching. So taking the hand and pulling it back gently and hanging on to it for like 30 seconds.
I see Stu Ham do that all the time.
Oh my God, this works. And when you let go, don't pop it. Return it very gently. So stretching like this really gets you started. Please do that, folks, before you pick this up. And the only other thing that's very important, if they're studying with you, that's covered, is to wear the instrument at the proper height. If they're wearing it too low, they're going to start having back problems. They're not going to be able to get their hand position correctly. And I know this is going to sound pompous and kind of smart-assy, but I mean it with all my heart. Really have fun. Have fun, man.
That's why we do it.
Yeah, I mean, really, don't see it as another mountain to climb or whatever, or a big challenge, or that'll shut you down. Just go.
Like fart in the elevator fun?
Yeah, have fun, man. The look on their face. I wish we had phones back in those days. That'd be my screensaver. But stretching and rubbing out scar tissue is a huge thing. Sounds like it's not a big deal. Well, guess what? It's why I'm flying around on this thing now.
Great advice. What about something with some of a musical context?
I would say listen to drum tracks. Go on YouTube and put drum track and find, it don't go dead, it don't go dead. And what you'll get is like 800 of them, right? Blah, blah, blah at 80 BPM, blah, blah, blah at, and just go through them and take the same line that you're working on, try them against different beats, different tempos, different contexts, and then turn it off, play some, here's another thing. I've taught everyone this. I don't care who they are or what their aspirations are. I teach music, sequences, major, third sequences. Da do 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 da. Descending. Da do da do da do da do da do da 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 do da do da. Right? I don't care who you are. All the people who have studied with me, some of them have become, Monk. I said, Monk, what can I do to pay you back? He goes, do what I did for you. So I have mentored so many players. Some of them are quite famous. I'm going through a book, a Mel Bay book or something, and it says so-and-so has studied with and Dann Glenn. I'm like, what? Who is it? It's great. You just forget all this stuff, especially if you survive. So this is very important. It's to practice fundamentals. Major and minor third, definitely major third sequences. And the rule is when you make a mistake, start over. Don't fix them. Da do 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 da all the way until you make it through. Now you know intervals. Da do da do da do da 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 do. Damn it. Da do do. Hey, I'm telling you, it's worked for a myriad of players from cats that just want to play rock. Listen, back in LA, back in the day, I was at MI, BIT, and I didn't poach students, but their ad, it's on my Facebook photographs. The top and the bottom, Jeff Berlin, Dan Glenn, Baba Elefante, Steve Bailey. And, we taught there. Jeff would be in this room, I'd be in this room. Excuse me. And they came up and they said, hey, Keanu Reeves wants to study. Do you want to teach Keanu Reeves? And I went, well, wait a minute. Let me think about that. Okay. And one day I'm sitting there looking out the back of the Bass Center, Studio City.
Yep. On Ventura.
On Ventura. Alan Morgan, our friend, I talked to Alan on Facebook. I'd always do a really bad impression. Bass Center, Alan speaking. So I can't do a British accent. So it was quite the hang there, right? So I've got my SWR. We miss Steve Robbie.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brian, Christy, and Seth, his kiddos. I just saw them at the NOM show. So, I've got the bass Final Frontier. My name's on it. I've got my Tobias 6-string bass. I'm like, I thought I was hot crap. I'm having a ball. So we're upstairs. I'm looking out the back into the parking lot. This powder blue 56, totally tricked out Cadillac pulls in. I'm talking curb feelers. Like, wow. Boop. Keanu Reeves pops out carrying a bass. I'm like, oh.
This was also in the 70s, 80s?
Oh, yeah. It was after his first movie, Bill and Ted. There was a cartoon show on, Bill and Ted, and he had a little red bass in the cartoon show. And back in those days, I would smoke pot and watch cartoons. It was just fun. It was really good for my PTSD. Yeah. So that's how I knew he had a little red bass in his cartoon show. So he comes up, and everything you hear about Keanu is true. I swear. Even back then. So kind, so focused, so deliberate. He's a different type of human being. I could tell it back then. So Keanu comes up. This is funny, John. Remember how, to get your battery out from it. Here, listen. Sirens. To get your battery out. Magnets. Sheldons. A genius. But remember back in the day, it was like surgery. You had to open the whole back up and everything. So Keanu comes in, and I go, man, he takes the bass out, and it's an alembic, and it's polyurethane, it's shiny. Usually it's like Stanley's or Jimmy's, Jimmy John's. It's like walnut colored or something. And I go, what the hell is that? Where'd you get that? And he goes, my producer got it for me. I go, where'd you get that Cadillac? He goes, hey, my producer. Here comes the sirens. Bad for a podcast. Great if my house catches on fire. So I go, Keanu, how do you like that bass? He says, Dan, I love it, but after I play it for a minute or two, it starts distorting. And I went, well, did you change your battery? And Keanu says, battery? So I open the door, and Ron Marino and Eric, I can't remember Eric's last name, are down there. And I go, hey, could you bring up a Phillips and a 9-volt for Keanu? Eric comes up, takes Keanu's bass, takes the back off, puts the battery in, puts it back on, takes off. This is a long time ago. I'm so immature. I'm going, say excellent, say excellent. I think I even said it out loud, say excellent. So Keanu's kind of looking at me like, what? Mentally ill? What? Plugs in and plays. And I go, excellent? And he goes, yeah, excellent. Yeah.
And you've got him to say it.
And I said, Keanu, unplug it when you're done playing because it'll drain the battery. Well, now, how is he supposed to know?
Yeah.
Amps were pretty new back then, and he's got his band Dogstar out. They're touring now. I just love it. He loves music. People go, well, Keanu? And I go, he loves the low tones. He said this. He loves the low tones of the bass. My personal feeling is he's been a bass player his entire adult life. He's Keanu Reeves, for God's sakes. I think it's the one thing that will never betray him. He's a megastar, man. That's the one thing that will never, ever betray him is his bass. I think he goes there,
You still keep in touch with him?
No. As a matter of fact, when somebody tells him the story, he'll go, what? Oh, yeah, or whatever. That's a long time ago. But anyway, that's a true story. And everybody standing around can confirm it. But wasn't that great? Battery?
You remind me I was in Peru. Oh God, I lived in Miami for 6 years. So we went to Colombia, Peru, Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica, all that time in the 80s, with Medellin, Colombia, I'm playing it. But anyway, coming back from Peru, and I had my Tobias 5-string, and the guy looks at me and he wants me to open. He's like taking a nail clipper.
Whoa, don't do that.
You could carry screwdrivers and stuff. I had in my bag. I opened it up, and he looked inside. He started going,
right.
I said, no, I got nothing. It's a battery, He says, okay, and they let me go. But
isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? It's like
I'm so lucky to be alive.
Oh yeah, both of us are, brother. I got a preamp into my bass years ago. There's a thing on my YouTube channel, a story about Rex Bogue, who we lost. Now, remember, Rex came, he built all these guitars. He built John McLaughlin's Double Rainbow, and Rex was a character. And he came up with, remember the Balls Deluxe preamps? They were the first preamps. Balls, B-A-L-Z Deluxe. Balls and Balls Deluxe. So I'm in Fart Torch, North Carolina, or South Dakota. So I'm touring, right, with a show. So I'm talking to Rex. He's in L.A. and he goes, Dan, you gotta try this preamp. And I'm like, I didn't know what a preamp was. I have a Fender Precision. I'm reading. I'm with a show. It's 1904 or something, right? And I go, what? He goes, where are you? And I go, Fart Torch, wherever I am. It's snowing. He goes, go out front at your hotel, get the number, tell me where you are, right? And he goes, I'm going to send you one of these things. No phones, no internet, no nothing. So I go, okay. So it arrives, and it's smaller than this. It's like a checkbook. I go, what the hell is this? I thought it was an amp. So I take it out. It's a little thing with a bus on it, right? Thingy. We connect it. I go, what the hell is this thing? And he's got a note. He goes, Dan, go to somebody that knows what they're doing and have them install this in your bass. So you know how it is, John, when you're on the road. I was in Ohio. So I said, who's the guy? And they go, over by the college. Every place has got a guy back in those days. So Go and I meet him. he's guitar tech. He's got a whole shop down under in his basement. So I go and I go, can you put a preamp in for me? He goes, what? So I go in there and he goes, I think I can do this. And I go, it's got instructions. He goes, oh, even better. John, listen to this. So he goes, I'm going to have to route the back cavity of your bass out. I bought this bass from Lonnie Turner, it's like royalty.
Yeah.
Lonnie Turner, what a nice guy. Dave Mason, and he was such a great, I met Dave Mason too. It was a great story. So he goes, I'm going to have to route it out. So I go, yeah, whatever. So he's routing the bass out, and he goes, oh, shit. And I go, oh, shit? And he goes, I just routed a hole through your bass. I go, what? He goes, and I go, shh. So I grab the phone, and I call Rex. Rex picks up. I go, Rex. He goes, Dan, he recognized my voice. He goes, Dan, did you get it? And I go, yeah, but the tech just routed a hole through my bass. I'm not making this up. Didn't miss a beat. He goes, yeah, whatever. We can fix that later. Just putty it or whatever. He goes, is he there? And I go, yeah, he's installing it now. He goes, put the phone up where he can hear me. So I put the phone up there, and it's the first time I ever heard this. He goes, can you hear me now? And the guy goes, yeah, I can hear you. In 15 minutes, Rex talked him through that. He installed it. He goes, wood putty, have him come back in 3 days, paint it. It's no big deal. You know what to do. He goes, oh, okay. And he goes, do this, do that. We got the 9-volt in. These are 18 volts. Put the 9-volt in. I plugged it in. I lost my mind. It was unthinkable. It was so big and so badass. I'd never heard anything like it. So I went back and played the show, and during the break, there was no guest list back then, so there was like a line at the door. Pretty soon, guitar players and bass players started lining up to come in. They wanted to see it. And I didn't tell the people in my band. They just thought I was more popular. John, I actually got a raise during that time because they were all coming up and talking to me and stuff. They didn't know what was going on. And I was going, yeah, man. It was a big deal back then. Balls Deluxe. How old can you be?
I know it's just a tangent, but you said something that really got my attention. 18 volts? What is that? 2 9-volt batteries? Okay. I can see it now. Yeah, I would always put 2 batteries that are identical and the same age and the same brand and the same. Nah.
You know what? I just throw them in, and when I get ready to do some serious recording out of Steve Schindler's studio, I just go ga 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 boo boo. I just hand him my instruments. He's got those dentist glasses thingies. He's got a patents for God's sakes. He sets everything up, makes sure my battery, he puts in Duracells, everything's great. When I roll into the studio, Steve Schindler has my amp set up, everything's there. It's amazing. And the guy hears around corners. People say, oh, Steve Schindler's your producer. And I go, yeah. And they go, well, I hear this all the time. Well, what does a producer do? Everyone, you go on Rick Beato. He's got some great answers. For me, my answer is a producer solves problems. And man, that's what Steve does. Steve, he teaches Cubase. He knows Greg. He knows all that stuff. And I was always like, I just don't want to deal with that. And he goes, Dan, you can do parts, and you ought to set some stuff up in your apartment. And I go, So he finally gets me Cubase Artist 12. Comes into my place. I'm a pianist. I have an 88 key Kurzweil here. He set up a Cubase, and I'm like, I can arm the tracks. He got me to where I can get so far, right? Just lay parts down. And I couldn't see. I couldn't see the damn computer. So what does a producer do? They solve problems. So he comes back in. I could turn this around, but I'm not going to. He goes and gets me a gamer monitor, one of those huge gamer monitors that they curve. And it's massive. So I put that up, and he goes, how's that grab you? And I'm like, wow, it's massive. My wonderful wife, Francoise, right behind us here, got me one of those 9 million inch TVs. It's taking up the whole wall, because I'm going blind. So up close, I can't see anything. But the further away it gets, the more I can see. So now I have Cubase in my apartment. I can see what I'm doing, kind of. And if I get a part that or an idea, I just don't want to let go. I'll go over and do that. And then I don't like sending it over the internet. So Steve gave me one of these. Is it terabyte? Trickabite? Terabyte? I mean, it's huge. It's a massive gigabyte. It's terabytes?
Terabyte.
Yeah, it's massive.
Well, it could be more than 1 terabyte. It could be 2 terabytes, or but trickabite. I like that word.
Yeah, terabyte. Let's go to terabytes. You want some pizza? Terabytes. So he goes, here, just put it on here. Stick it in your pocket. So I give him the stuff, and by the time I'm taking my stuff out, he's already got it put into the system, and it's great. I mean, I hung out with so many people out there when Pat Travers came through.
Yeah,
I wanted to meet Pat. So Steve goes, okay. So they were playing I'm a combat Vietnam veteran. They were doing a Wounded Warriors concert. So they got me a VIP badge and said, here. So I go, yeah, that's great. Thank you. I want to meet Pat.
Yeah.
So finally, David Pastorius is playing with Pat now. He's kicking ass.
Yeah. He's a slapper. He's a slap crazy.
Yeah, he's got that down to a science. So I go, I wrote him. I go, man, you're a great fit. And he goes, thanks, Dan. I mean, he really is. So this is a few years back. So we go out to where they're staying, and they lead me downstairs, and there's Pat sitting there in a chair. And when I get downstairs, he stands up and hands me a guitar pick. Big sucker. And I go, man, it's an honor to meet you. And he just blew that off. He's like, yeah, whatever. He goes, more torque, Dan. More torque. So I took that. I don't use it. I keep it. It's a good luck charm. Nice. So we hung out, and what a trip. I got to tell Pat Travers, hey, remember that first album you did where on the front cover you're hitting you're auditioning for a suit, an A&R man. You've got your stack, and they told me the name of the album. And I go in the back of it, his wig sideways, everything's blown off the wall. He's going, yeah. I told him I had a great appreciation for him. And Mark Cordetti was my music director. We were signed to a record contract for 4 years. We had Brockett Parsons from Lady Gaga's band. Remember when she came through Super Bowl 52?
Yes.
Through the roof? That was Brockett's piano arc. He co-invented that piano ARC. It's 264. It's 3 pianos. You can see that. Brockett's a trip. He's like very tall. So Mark Cordetti and I are out there, and like a barracks lawyer, they find out when you're going to get a divorce, and they write you. They watch the mail. They can do that stuff. You're getting divorced. I'm a lawyer. I didn't know that stuff, but they can watch what's coming out. So tiny houses, the guy that built tiny houses, Mark Cordetti says, yeah, I'm going out to selling my home in Nashville, and I'm going to go out and be music director for Dan Glenn. We're signed to it's like a big deal. We're going to have a ball. They bought this, the record company bought this Jim Messina. They bought his place, massive, turned it into a state-of-the-art soundstage. They're driving F-150s, shooting commercials, and studio. And that's where we did our thing. They rented us, leased us a beautiful estate right on the beach.
Tell Dan, tell Mark, tell him hello from me. I forget. It was a while ago we did that interview.
Mark's a trip, man.
Listen, Dan, I could geek out with you all day.
Yeah. What is this? 9 hours we've been doing this?
No, I think we ought to wrap it up here. There's no good time to stop because there's always more. But
forever.
I'll try not to wait another 5.5 years before we do another.
Yeah, don't do that, man. I'm pushing 80. Don't do that.
Yes, because you've always got big time far out stuff to talk about. Hey, let me ask you one more question.
Yes.
Kind of my signature sign off question. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? And you can't, it's something outside of music. I know you're a guitar player and a piano player and all that.
You remember? Yeah, my first answer for my very first interview.
Yeah, I didn't know if you'd remember. I remember.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
I would either be the activities director on a cruise ship, or an assassin?
Yeah. A hired assassin or the activities director on a cruise ship?
They're kind of the same thing.
Well, it's so great catching up with you. I really, really enjoy talking with you. And that is one hell of a beautiful Sheldon Dingwall bass. I
Wow.
wish you many happy
Z3. Wow.
Z3. I thought that was
I bought it.
What?
I said I bought it. They give them to me, but I bought it. How's that for an endorsement?
That is one hell of an endorsement.
Oh, buddy.
Thank you so much, and I wish you much luck and continued success and good health. And take care.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
It sounds like you're in good hands, and it
I
sounds
am.
like the people that are looking after you really know what they're doing.
They do.
Yes. Well, take care, my friend, and let's talk soon. You're going to be at the NAMM show in January?
Yeah, I'll come out and hang with you. I'll see you.
I'm bringing my wife. My son
I'll buy you dinner.
Sold.
You can cut my vegetables for me.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Dan. You're watching for Bass Players Only. .com. Let me try
Let me
that.
do a blurb for you. Hi, this is Dan Glenn, and you're watching for Bass Players Only. Cut.
.com. If you've ever wanted to learn bass, but you think you're too old or your body just won't let you or some nonsense like that, you should know that right now there are thousands of people inside the For Bass Players Only community. A lot of them in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, men and women. And you know what they're doing? They're learning bass. They're having the time of their life playing music that they love. Come join them and experience that incredible transformation for yourself. As I always say, you're never too old to groove. So let's play bass. Thanks again to my very, very special guest this week, Dan Glenn. I will see you right back here next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, I'm John Liebman. Let's play bass.